Everyone, and welcome back to Grandstand Sports Data. It's week one, and we've got a heavyweight matchup right out of the gate. It's going to be the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Buffalo Bills, and these are two of AFC's top contenders with two elite quarterbacks and plenty of fireworks expected in this one. In today's video, we're going to break down the advanced rankings, the fundamental factors, and then, of course, the betting lines and models predictions. So by the end, you'll see exactly where the edges lie and whether the data leans the Ravens, Bills, or maybe even the total in this one. So let's get right into it. Okay, so let's jump into how the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens stack up in this matchup. And first, we're going to start with the model and where it has them for power ratings. We have the Ravens sitting at about number one overall, and then the Bills coming in at number three. I just want to let you guys know right before we start, these are based on our preseason projections. And our preseason projections, if you checked out our Simulate the Season video, it's based on what we have in terms of player value. So we added in rookies, we added in free agents, and we place them into, we have a number on those individuals, and then those individuals produce a final output which leads to our model being built and being improved and revised. So these are the projections. They're not historicals by any means, but they are projections. So let's start with the offensive side of the ball. Both squads can basically flat out score. As you can see, the Bills project slightly higher at almost 31 points per game, which ranks first in the NFL, while the Ravens come in just behind them at very close to 30 points per game, ranking second. So the difference here is in efficiency, as you can see. Baltimore leads the league in yards per play, scoring percentage, and turnover rate. They're all ranked top two or top three, and that's a recipe for consistency and sustainability. Now, Buffalo, meanwhile, leans on volume, right? They'll score, but they're more middle of the pack in efficiency, or I would say, they're still very close to top 10, but closer to middle of the pack than the Ravens are. If you flip it over to defense now, this is where the Ravens may have the edge. So Baltimore projects to allow about 18.2 points per game, sixth in the league, and they're top five in turnovers forced. Buffalo now, their defense sits around league average, and they're giving up just over 20 points per game when you're looking at the projections. So whether you're ranking, yards per play or even scoring percentage allowed, they still rank in about the middle of the pack. Now, this basically tells me that the Bills might bend more often, even if they don't completely break. Now, let's move on to the wild card in this matchup, which is probably going to be right below that miscellaneous column or that miscellaneous tab. It's going to be the Baltimore ranking number one in efficiency and in turnovers, right? That's huge for success, while Buffalo is elite in explosiveness. So, what that tells me is Baltimore sustains drives, controls the ball, and then minimizes mistakes. Buffalo, on the other hand, is banking on big plays to tilt the field. So, the bottom line in this is this: it's a strength on strength. If Baltimore can keep Buffalo from hitting those explosive shots downfield, the Ravens' efficiency, and ball control could be the deciding factor. But if Josh Allen and that offense starts connecting on chunk plays, Buffalo can flip the game script very quickly. So this matchup is razor thin, and whichever side executes their style better is the likely one to cover the spread in this. Okay, so now let's jump into where things get real interesting, and this is the breakdown of the fundamental factors for this game. Baltimore comes out with the edge across the board here. So let's start with the matchup factor. And when a team is favored in a high total, those teams went 91 and 38 straight up last year in 2024. That's a 70% win rate, and they covered the spread more often than not at 68 and 59 record. So for this matchup, the edge goes to Baltimore, which sets the stage for a favorable environment. Now, when you look at player quality now, and that's the Ravens hold basically a discrepancy or an advantage using the Madden rating system as a roster strength indicator. Higher rated teams didn't always crush the spread last year, but they still posed a strong 162 wins and 106 losses record straight up on the money line. So that's nearly 60% on the money line. And again, Baltimore checks that box. Let's move on to the third category, which is coaching, and once again, Baltimore has the edge. The Grandstand Sports Data coaching model was one of the more predictive models in 2024, with teams holding the coaching advantage going 180 wins and 105 losses on the money line. So that's basically $4.40 for every $1 bet. So that's a very real signal in the betting market. Now, here's the kicker though. Last season, when a team held both the Madden edge and the coaching model edge, While also being favored in a high total environment, those teams went 37 and 12 on the money line, and that's nearly 76% with over 3 units of profit per $1 bet. So that exact combination is pointing onto the Baltimore side. So while Buffalo is an elite opponent, the fundamentals align heavily with the Ravens. So if you trust history, the numbers say Baltimore is not just live here, but historically, they're in a very strong position. Okay, so normally this is the part of the breakdown where we'd show you the graphical illustrations or the betting trends. So we track things like return on risk for both the money line and the spread, and we also have a chart where teams are trending using moving averages. The problem is, though, early in the year, there just isn't enough of a sample size to make that information meaningful. So a couple of games in September can swing the numbers way too far in one direction, and that doesn't really give us the true read on a team's performance. So that's why we hold off until about week 4. By then, the data has enough depth, and then the rate of return metrics and trend lines start to stabilize. So that's when we can really trust the story or the data. So once we hit that point, you'll start to see those visuals back in our previews every week, and they'll give us a much more sharper lens into which teams are, outperforming the market or maybe even underperforming the market. All right, so let's jump to the betting preview. And the current line right now is Baltimore is a very slight favorite at -1, priced at about -115 on the money line. Buffalo sits at a +1 and at about a -105 on the money line, and the total is set at 50.5. So anytime that you see a spread this tight, the market's basically telling you that these teams are virtually dead even. Now, let's talk about our model and what it sees. So it's run 10,000 Monte Carlo simulations, and in those simulations, the average score was about 27 to 25 in Baltimore's favor. So that gives the Ravens about a 61% win probability out of those 10,000 games that they ran in terms of the simulation. So now you want to notice the spread projection though on those games. So the Ravens were a -2.2 favorite throughout those 10,000 Monte Carlo simulations. So there's a little bit of a stronger, it's a little stronger than what the market is currently hanging at that -1. Now that shows us some value on the Baltimore side, but as far as the total, both teams grade out as high-powered offenses, and the model leans toward this one creeping over the number. So with a combined projection of 52 points, there's enough cushion above that 50 and a half, that total, to justify the over as a play. So here's how it shakes out. The model picks Baltimore against the spread, Baltimore on the money line, and then the over in the game. So when you add that up, the numbers are backing what we've basically been saying in the fundamentals and throughout the video. Baltimore has a slight edge here. And if this game plays to script, we could be looking at a tight, high scoring battle that pushes past that total of 50 and a half. So that wraps up the week 1 betting preview between the Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of the weekly betting previews and strategy videos. I want you guys to drop a comment down below. Let us know which side you're leaning on in this matchup. Is it the Ravens or the Bills? And we'll keep the conversation going. And of course, share this video with a friend who's looking to get an edge on their bets this season. Thank you guys for watching Grandstand Sports Data, and we'll see you in the next one.